From WFRV TV, Local 5, serving Northeast Wisconsin, including Green Bay, Fox Cities, and the Lakeshore. This is Newsmaker Sunday.
Good morning and welcome to Newsmaker Sunday. I'm Tom Zalaski. The war in Ukraine, it has been a major part of the news ever since Russia invaded the country on February 24th of 2022, impacting millions of Ukrainians. And joining us this morning, Kelly Peterson and Lana Nyland, who are behind a documentary called Ballerina on the Battlefield. Ladies, thanks so much, both of you, for joining us this morning. Let me set the stage here for our viewers on how you two got together and just what it is that you're doing. First of all, Kelly Peterson, you used to be my boss.
I did. I was your boss.
You were the news director here at WFRV Television at Channel 5. And Lana, you're the ballerina.
I am the dancer, yeah,
and
absolutely.
You're getting humanitarian aid to the front lines in the war on Ukraine. So
sure are.
How does a news director and a ballerina get together? How did you cross paths? How did this start?
Well, we have a mutual friend who knows Lana, Patrick Mitchell, mm-hmm. and they had been working together, collaborating for a while, and he introduced Lana to me and explained what she does in Ukraine, running essentials, medical supplies to the front line. And she used to be a dancer, and I mean, I guess you're always a dancer. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, oh my goodness, what a story to have your life turned around and go from being a dancer to running through basically a war zone, mm-hmm. and getting these medical supplies and humanitarian aid to the front lines. And I thought that's a story. I mean, this is something that I want to write and produce.
Kelly, you're now a college instructor, but also an independent producer. So how did you come up with the idea for this?
So my co-producer, Patrick Mitchell, and I, we sat down and we thought, let's do this. Let's outline what we want this to look like. So we started interviewing Lana via Zoom, WebEx. And the first time we interviewed Lana was in her apartment. She had just come back, if I recall, from a run. That's what they call it when they go to and from the front line. And she was sitting on a floor in her apartment, and she, no electricity.
Candlelight.
Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow. And we've been following her story. We've documented Lana for a while now. And Patrick Mitchell and I are going to Ukraine this summer, and we're going to tell more of Lana's story.
So Lana, you're the ballerina in the documentary, depicted in the documentary. How do you fit into all of this? What do you do in this documentary?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know what I'm going to do in the documentary. On the ground, though, we collect aid from all over the world, really, from Canada, from the US, from Australia, across Europe. We've got a warehouse in Kyiv, 150 square meters. And we've got volunteers as well who come in from all over the place. And so we get them working in the warehouse. We've got requests that come in from all over Ukraine, along the front line, the eastern front, as well as the southern front. We put a plan together, and then we get everything in the car. A fleet of usually 3 to 4 vehicles, depending on how many requests we're needing to fill. And then we hit the road.
So your connection, where were you born? Where were you raised?
I was born in Canada. I left 20 years ago. In September, it'll be my 20th anniversary, to go to Ukraine to dance, where I danced with the ensemble Ensemble Wierskowa in Ukrainian. Yeah.
So do you have connections there? Do you have family there? What's the story on that?
This ensemble came to Canada when I was quite young, and I didn't know how it was going to happen or when it was going to happen. I just knew I was going to dance with this group. And so in 2003, I made that move. And it was one of the best things I've ever done, because it has led me to this moment, really, and doing what I am supposed to be doing, and that's helping people.
So were you there when the war broke out?
I absolutely was. I was in my apartment in Kyiv in February in 2022 on the 24th, and I watched as a column 60 kilometers long, tanks rolling into my city, dropping rockets, artillery. There are there are pieces actually of the road that are still reminiscent of that moment just over a year ago. And it's not just in Kiev, actually. You can see pieces of it everywhere across the country. And some, unfortunately, some cities and towns are worse for wear as compared to Kiev. But Kiev has been hit as well, and actually just recently, just in the last couple of days.
Did you have prior notification before the tanks rolled in?
You know, there was an incredible amount of chatter as to what might happen, but no one ever expected, ever, that Putin would send his troops in, ever. And so this was a complete surprise to see not just troops, but so much artillery, so much hardware. And we didn't really know what was going to happen. And at any moment, it could have gotten much, much worse. I came to the point where even if I wanted to evacuate, that wasn't an option for me anymore. There was no fuel left at the tanks, left at the gas stations rather, over a couple of days period. People had just lined up down the block to fill up their cars and to get out of Dodge, basically. And so what I ended up doing was sticking behind in Kiev, filling up my cupboards, just to be sure and to be safe as possible, no matter what had happened. I was with animals, many of which were not my own. People had evacuated and left their animals with me, and so I needed to make sure that not just myself, but these little four-legged critters were going to be taken care of.
We have much more to come with Lana and Kelly. You brought with you some items that you are bringing to the front line. We're going to talk about that and much more, so stay right there, please. Back now with Kelly Peterson and Lana Nyland talking about their documentary, The Ballerina on the Battlefield. And Lana, you brought some stuff that you bring to the front lines in Ukraine.
Yeah.
What did you bring?
Well, so in addition to things like food bags and hygiene kits, we deliver something called an IFAC, or an individual first aid kit. Now, you can find first aid kits on Amazon, and that's good for camping or for roadside assistance, but the first aid kits that are necessary on the front line, they're a little bit more in-depth. So we've got tourniquets in there, chest seals, hemostatic bandages, so that if you face some kind of critical, and I mean dire injury, you've got everything you need in this kit to get you through what's called the golden hour. It's about a 90-minute piece of time to get you from the front to some kind of medical personnel at a casualty collection point, a CCP we call them, and that's about 2 to 3 kilometers from the front. So it's not a lot of time, and yet this is what could potentially save your life.
And these patches have significance to them.
Well, every soldier and even volunteer wears a patch to identify with whom they work or whom they represent. And so if you were to do a good deed, I would take my patch off and I would give this to you as thanks for going out of your way to help me do whatever it was that I needed to get done. You would do likewise. You would give me your patch. And so in exchange, in essence, we're shaking hands, but on a much more symbolic level, which is lovely.
Yeah, and on the patches it says Ukrainian Patriot, something that very few people here in Northeast Wisconsin have seen. What is that?
This is shrapnel.
Shrapnel.
So these pieces we picked up in Izium. Izium was an occupied territory from the very, very beginning up until about September of 2022. It's in the eastern province of Kharkiv. And this is what flies through the air at extremely high velocity in the hundreds of pieces, with the hopes of injuring Ukrainians. And it's being sent over by Russians who the world thought was meant to be our brothers in arms. And really, that's not how you treat family.
Yeah. For both of you, Kelly, Lana, when's the last time you were in Ukraine?
Well, I was actually in Russia just before the war broke out.
All right.
And that was when I really saw, we went to Russia and to Poland. And when I was in Russia, it was just a weird feeling in terms of everybody who I met, they were from Ukraine. I mean, it could be the Uber driver. It could be somewhere if I was sitting at a cafe. Every person, I can't tell you one person I met who was Russian.
And did they know what was about to happen?
I don't think so.
No.
There's so much propaganda there. I don't think so. But then when we went to Poland, I was meeting people and talking to people, and we were close to, we weren't far from the border of Ukraine and Poland, and people there, it was very interesting. The whole police, they were gone because they were at the border watching the troops starting to come into Ukraine. So the war was very, very close at that point, and I guess I should have realized that a little sooner, but that's what really also connected me to Lana and to Ukraine. When I left Russia and when I left Poland, I knew I wanted to do something to help them, because it just, I didn't understand why.
How people could treat each other that way.
And their brothers, their sisters, their grandmothers, their grandparents, their daughters, their sons, their family, and yet they're fighting for no reason.
When were you there last?
I came over through, actually, so this is the end of a North American tour, if you like. I entered Canada in the middle of April, and I had a number of meetings and presentations there. I moved into New York last week, and I have had a week here in Wisconsin. And so it's been getting in front of as many people as we can to talk about not just Ukrainian Patriot, but about the story of what's happening in Ukraine, what's actually happening in Ukraine, that there is an de facto war going on, and that this is not going to end anytime soon without the help of the international community.
As you know it, what's life like in Ukraine right now?
It depends where you are. Okay. So I live in the capital city, and at any moment there would be sirens running rampant 2 to 3 times at least per day. When the sirens go off, you're advised to go into a bomb shelter or into the metro, which is the deepest part of the city. And then you can have, there may be a point where the skies are noisy, we call it, and things could be flying through and potentially falling on Kyiv. But this is, I would say, it happens maybe 2 or 3 times a week. This happens every day, all day, in parts of Ukraine, along the east and along the southern fronts.
We have much more to come. Please stay right there. Back now with Kelly Peterson and Lana Nyland talking about the war in Ukraine. The war has impacted, obviously, millions of Ukrainians, displaced people, refugees. They've gone to other countries. How are you physically getting this humanitarian aid to the front line? I mean, is it dangerous? Do you have any concerns?
Well, it is dangerous. We have a fleet of 6 vehicles at this moment, none of which are armored. Though I will say that we go in protected. One of the things that Ukrainian Patriot is very, very keen on is making sure that anyone who's at the front, whether civilian or defender, is as protected as possible. And so I have a plate carrier, which houses ceramic plates, which are National Institute of Justice Level 4 plates. They protect against bullets about the size of my hand, not the width, but the length of my hand. Yeah. That Russians are using against Ukrainians. I have a helmet and I have ear protection, and the whole team has this kind of kit that we use and wear when we're going to the front. And our route is very much pre-planned. We are very in touch with what's happening on the front, and we have friends who are along the front as well who assist us in what's happening on an hour-to-hour basis if necessary.
You do know how strange this is for me to listen to the ballerina say she goes in protected.
I know. And yet, here we are, 21st century. I don't know, I think that I probably couldn't have forgiven even myself if I'd have evacuated. I knew that there was something that I could do, and therefore.
So many countries have denounced Russia. They have come to Ukraine's aid in its fight, but are the people receiving enough humanitarian aid?
Well, what's enough, really? Yeah. There are people who, for whatever reason, can't or will not leave the front. Their homes are there. They don't know where to go. They don't know if they did leave, they don't know what would happen to their homes if they left. And so what we do actually is allow them to not just survive, but to thrive with our food bags, with hygiene kits, making sure that they're protected as possible in terms of the medications that we bring them. And not only, actually. There's an element of Ukrainian Patriot that is beautiful for me. We're not a logistics team. We're not a delivery service. What we do is bring light, love, hope and connection to people who have lost that with the outside world.
And from what you've seen, and either of you here, from what you've seen, are they getting enough military aid?
No.
No.
No. But that's not up to me. The military aid, the military question is something that governments here, most certainly in the US, across Canada and Europe, and elsewhere, they need to answer that question.
So you're making the tour. You just met, I understand, with Jake Woodford.
We did.
Mayor
Yes,
of Appleton. On your tour that you're doing here, how have you been received?
It's been beautiful, actually. This is my first trip to Wisconsin, so you've done a really good job. Thank you.
Okay, good.
And one of the things that we did yesterday, we went up to Door County, and there's a candle company up there. There's a beautiful woman named Christiana.
Yes.
She's making candles for Ukraine. And so she and I have spoken, and there may be some partnership in the works there.
She brought a candle. I guess you can explain it probably more than I can. But she brought it from Ukraine, from the front lines, correct?
Yes. So there's a number of battalions. We call them battalions. They're not officially employed as such, but there's groups of people that come together and do amazing things. And in this particular group, they make trench candles. So they take tin cans from different kinds of food. They clean it out, melting wax in a pot. They take a strip of cardboard. The cardboard gets stripped in the wax. Then the cardboard itself gets swirled around into the can, and this creates what's called a trench candle. And so I had one left as we made our way up to Door County, and it just so happened that I got to meet Christiana, and so I gifted this to her, and it's now on display in their Ukrainian shelving area. And yes, so there's a story of Ukrainian Patriot actually in Wisconsin.
And those candles have been selling very, very well
They have.
ever since she got that idea started. In all your travels and all the people you've met with, either here in Northeast Wisconsin and wherever else you have traveled, I know people are sympathetic, but do they really understand what's going on over there?
I don't think anyone who hasn't lived in a war can ever understand what that's like. And so whether it's with living without electricity, without hot water, without connection to the outside world in terms of internet, even the worst thing for me, to be honest, is not having communications. So even mobile communication has at times been out, and not being able to call even across the city to make sure that friends and family, if there has been a hit, that they're okay, and vice versa.
We are back to wrap up with Lana and Kelly right after this, so please stay with us. We are back now with Kelly Peterson and Lana Nyland on the documentary Ballerina on the Battlefield. You're putting together the documentary, a big team effort. How many people are behind this effort?
Right now we've got a team of less than 5.
Fewer than 5 people. Do you, either of you, both of you, plan to go to Ukraine to do any filming, or do you have what you need in your post-production
We're
now?
going.
You're going?
We're going this summer. We just talked about our plan last night. We'll stay with Lana. We can't say where we're going for safety reasons, but my co-producer Patrick and I, and a videographer, photographer, we're going to go and document more. We do have a lot from Lana that she's been able to give us, but we want to actually go and document it ourselves.
Are you afraid?
I'm nervous. Yeah, I am afraid. But it's if we don't tell the story, if we don't document history, who's going to do that? This is when we have to stand up. I mean, there are people who are doing it, but this is when we are standing up saying we want to be a part of documenting this. We want to be a part of helping, especially from what I saw in Russia and what's happening with the invasion in Ukraine right now.
Your family's okay with this? Not really?
They don't know. I haven't said anything about it, but I will.
I'm going to take good care of her.
Well, you're the one who's protected, yes. Any idea when we can expect to see this documentary?
Well, we're still documenting. We're hoping to have something out by no later than this winter or fall. That's our goal, but it's a war, so it's really hard to say, but that's our goal, and we'll certainly keep you and the audience updated as to where we are.
And when all is said and done, the documentary is out, what do you hope the documentary accomplishes?
Well, we hope it certainly brings awareness to what's happening in Ukraine. We hope it helps get humanitarian aid to the front lines, to the people, to the communities there who have been so horribly hit by Russia.
Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel?
There's always light.
I mean, I know I'm asking you, when is the war going to end? But do you see any hope?
I think that we always have a choice, actually, as to how we move, and we can sit or stand in the fear and allow it to render us useless, or we can move into places where there are light and love and hope and connection, just as Ukrainian Patriot has done. And this is really where we are as useful as we can be, because we can connect with those who are stuck in these very, very dark places, these places where they feel as though hope is lost.
And what do you see as a rebuilding process?
Years and years
Years
and
to
years.
go.
And not just physical rebuilding. There is rebuilding of the human spirit and the human psyche, actually, as well, that will take just as long. But we will be there. We will stand with our incredible Ukrainian brothers and sisters, and we will allow for Ukraine to come back bigger, brighter, and more prosperous.
Lana Nyland, Kelly Peterson, fascinating and chilling.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
If you have a newsmaker in your town who you think we should have on this show, let us know about it. Send us an email to tips@wearegreenbay.com, or you can message us on Facebook. And be sure to join us once again Sunday morning at 7:30. Until then, have a great day.